Welcome to the Chronically Wool podcast, where we have real conversations with community that need to be heard. On this episode, you will hear from Destiny. Destiny, we've had many off-air conversations, so I just want you to introduce yourself to the audience and let them know who you are, because your story truly needs to be told.
Hi, my name is Destiny. I go by DeeDee. That's what a lot of people know me as. And I am 21 years old. I have been living with diabetes for 19 years. And I'm a student at Spelman College. I'm from West Philly. And I am a small content creator. Yeah.
You're a small content creator. Is that what you wanted to do as a career?
I wouldn't say if that's a part of God's plan, then I will do so. But honestly, I just like making content just to more like bring awareness to different things such as diabetes and health. And additionally, I have a gluten allergy, so I'm also known as celiac. Yes. So, I just like to show awareness and bring awareness to things that are a part of my everyday life that a lot of people don't know about. But it's not really like my goal to be something big or whatsoever. But if that aligns, then opportunities do come behind that.
Okay. Sounds good. So I know last night you sent a message stating like, basically you don't know what to talk about. And I'm like, I've seen you via social media. I know most of it is like not even planned. You're like, damn it, like I'm going to do it. When I pop up, I pop it. Like every time I show up, I'm going to show out. Right. But it's enjoyable.
Is that how you view my content?
Yes, 100. Look. Yeah, because
my
I know
content, just for the record, is never planned. It's more like I'm going to go grab food today. Oh, wait, hold on. I haven't posted a video in a couple of days. Let me show these people what it's like and what my average day of ordering food looks like as someone who has celiac, and me having to navigate from 50 different options, but I only have 2 that actually are for me, how I'm still going to enjoy good quality food with my condition. So it's like, okay, let me just record that. This is about to be something to talk about. I never planned it. I don't.
And I can tell. And many people love that it's unplanned. It's unapologetically you.
Yes.
Like seriously, like you're from Philly, like the area, like in the city, like when we do things, we do things.
Yeah.
Okay, if I can make a buck off of it, I'll make a buck off of it. But
hey, listen.
Right, it's all good. You've been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes for, you said, almost 20 years?
Yes, almost 20 years. Yep.
Almost 20 years.
This year in October would make 20. Yep.
Okay. So we got to celebrate. You got 2 dubs.
Yes.
Okay. How old were you when you were diagnosed?
Okay, so I was 2 years old when I was diagnosed. This is like so crazy. I feel like when I tell people, like people are always like, oh my God. So actually, honestly, like in my opinion, like from what it sounds like, I believe that I was diagnosed with diabetes a little earlier, but I didn't get diagnosed until I was 2 years old. And with that being said, like, my family always brings up stories when I was younger about me, like not eating my food, or like every time they would feed me, I would always throw up my food and I would get really sick. Like I was always like urinating, like my diapers, and they had to change my diapers. They said a lot more than usual. Like my skin would change colors and like a bunch of different stuff like that. And they had diagnosed me with so many other conditions, and I was misdiagnosed. And then they were saying that it wasn't until they had checked my blood sugar, and they were like, my blood sugar was like super low. And which is crazy though, because I feel like the symptoms they were telling me was stuff that like now, like frequent urination stuff, they said it was high, and I'm like low, like, okay. So at that time I got diagnosed with diabetes after them figuring out my sugar was very, very low. And it was like crazy. Like it was really low, and it kept happening a lot. And I just remember like when I was younger that for years, I struggled with really, really low blood sugar. They were changing my medicines, kept changing it, different stuff like that. And like, I just remember like me as a kid, like is always eating sugar, always needing to keep like glucose tablets on me and stuff like that. Like, oh my God, even so to this day, like I hate like actually like eating sugar. Like I'm not a sugar person at all because like I had to eat sugar in times that I didn't feel like it. Like that's one of my things that I actually hate like about having diabetes is sometimes when I'm not hungry, and then people like tell me or are forcing me to eat things that I don't want to eat, you know? And so that happened a lot. And then, you know, I got diagnosed with epilepsy because I kept having my sugars were dropping low so much that like I was having seizures in my sleep, like just constantly having seizures. I remember at one point, like I wasn't even able to like ever go to school, like because every time I would go, they told me I wasn't allowed to go to school because like every time I would go to school, they like I would have a really low blood sugar. I would spend my whole day in the nurse's office, or if they would send me back to class, like there was times like when I was younger, like in kindergarten, you know, I would have seizures in classrooms and stuff like that. And it was like this girl cannot go to school. Like it was really, really bad. And so I just remember like at one point, like me, like practically living in the hospital. I was there for a very, very long period of time. Like I remember like it's crazy. Like I remember there's like a section, and this is literally how I found out because I literally lived in it. Like there's a section in the hospital if you're there for a very, very long period of time where
Is this at CHOP?
Yes, it's at CHOP. Yep. Yeah, there's a section where you like live if you're there for long term. And I remember I was there and I was like, okay, like nurses come in every day and I'm just in the room watching Special Agent Oso. Like it was just crazy. But yeah, now here I am. I'm in college now. You know,
sorry, I don't want to interject, but you have a very similar story to another person from the Philly area, but she's been diagnosed now for this January, actually makes 41 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll introduce you to her. She was diagnosed, I think at 2. Was she 2 yet? I think she may have been 1 at the time. But yeah, very similar story about spending the time in CHOP and it being her second home and all of those things.
Yes. And I mean, now, even to this day, like I'm super close. I just recently aged out of CHOP, but I'm super close with a lot of like doctors and nurses at CHOP. Like, you know, to this day, like they remember me. I'm aged out now. Now I transferred over to Penn because I'm an adult. But, you know, I like, you know, I've had my experience with diabetes and, you know, again, with the seizures and different things like that. And here I am today. I mean, I would definitely say it's been a journey with my diabetes, and there's definitely been like a roller coaster with me, you know, learning about my body and learning about myself to the point where like, you know, people will make it seem like diabetes it's a science, but it's not a simple science, you know, like
it's not at all.
Yeah. People will be like, okay, well, if your blood sugar is high, just take insulin. Well, do we ever talk about insulin resistance when your body doesn't, you know, absorb your insulin all the time properly? Because I've had those a lot of times, you know, and it's not as simple as, you know, just drinking water and taking insulin. There are times where I'm like, okay, I've done everything I'm supposed to do and my sugar's still like 500. Like, I don't understand. I've taken like over 100 units of insulin, and then my insulin kicks in 24 hours later, and now I'm struggling with low blood sugars for hours because everything just kicked in at once, but it only was supposed to take 3 to 4 hours for my insulin to kick in, you know?
Yeah, the sciences of diabetes or, well, the variables of diabetes, there's no end to them. People fail to realize that from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep and in reverse, our diabetes is still being managed.
Yes.
Specifically, like when people were sick, someone will be like, take a break, take a nap. They don't understand the nuances of living with insulin dependence.
Yes.
We can't just go to sleep to fix things, because us going to sleep could mean like something even more detrimental happening to us.
Absolutely.
That's why.
And the thing about it is that I've had friends who have went to sleep and had things happen, you know? And even like I said, there's been times that I've went to sleep and I had a whole seizure, woke up in a hospital, and everybody's like, do you know where you are? And I'm like, how the heck did I get here? I was just at home in my bed, you know? Like things are bound to happen. And like you said, like our body doesn't stop. And it's crazy because I was literally just making a video before I got on here, and I was like, okay, like people don't understand that diabetes is like, it's like more of a job than being a parent, you know? Like I could wake up today and be like, hey, if I have a child, okay, people always say like when you have kids, like you're a parent 24/7. Yes, you are. But when you're a parent, you could be like, oh, go to grandmom's house. No, I can't be like, hey, anybody want to take care of this diabetes? Like, this is me,
You
like,
must have you well, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to view or listen to the podcast, but I that's something that I share with people all the time, that diabetes is being like gifted an infant, but every day having that infant, having to
yes,
climb mountains and hills with that infant, having to learn primary school, secondary school, and moving forward, like every aspect of life with a new infant every single day. And
yes,
you being diagnosed at 2, you didn't ask for that infant at all, but you were forced to raise it. Some kids got baby alive.
yes.
You got life.
Yes. Yeah, but I would definitely say that, me having diabetes, it has definitely been a journey. But honestly, like sometimes I have my thoughts where I'm like, okay, where would I be in life if I didn't have diabetes? Like, how aware of my body would I be if I didn't
Mm.
have diabetes, or the connections and the people that I've met through life, me being able to connect with them through diabetes? Like, I am very appreciative of the things that and the experiences that I've had. I'm able to, now I can watch my carbs and I know, like, okay, how to read nutrition facts, where I know some people don't even know how to read those things. Or now I'm more aware of, okay, how our bodies react to things. Even I remember like me, like growing up, like I used to love science in school. I love science because I remember every time that something happened in science class or we were learning about something, I just always related back to my body and diabetes and what I knew. And I was like, okay, well, if this happens, how does this impact my body? Oh, well, that makes sense. Okay, like that's going to happen to you, or this is how processes work. So yeah.
Yeah, the most recent episode that was released two days ago with a young man named Chase. Chase is 16. He was diagnosed at 3 years young, not 3 years old, 3 years young, and he speaks highly about how going through school he was very much more advanced than his peers, and he's like, ever since I was a small toddler, as far back as I can remember, I wanted to work in robotics and engineering. Like he knew those things, and he was like, when he would see like peers doing certain things, he would be like he could basically break it all down, because by the time he was 6 years old, he knew everything of like he knew about his carb ratios and his basal. And I'm like, yeah, you were diabetes. I wouldn't ever say was a gift. I wouldn't call it a gift, but
Right.
diabetes helped unpack who you truly were destined to be.
Yes. No, that's so true. And like, I would even say for me, like my first time giving myself needles and like taking my own insulin shots. Like I remember this, like it was just like an accomplishment. I was literally in kindergarten. I remember like I remember at one point I was only giving myself my needles at school, but then at home I wasn't doing it. I just came home and I was like, I got this. I'm in kindergarten. How old are you going to be? Like 5 years old, right? Taking my own blood sugars, taking my own, insulin shots and stuff. And people are looking at me like this girl's injecting her own needles. But it just got to the point where, when you live through something every day, it's like, okay, it just becomes a habit. And it's like, I don't need anybody to like step in. Of course, like at certain points, somebody was like, okay, if like, I don't know, mom's cooking or something like that, I need to know what she cooked and what she put in it so I could be able to count my carbs. But I've always been good at math as well, along with science. Like I used to love math and science. Well, even still to this day, not used to. I love math and science. Because of the fact that it's been something I've had to use every day in my life. Like, even so to this day, people are asking me to do simple math, and I'm like, I could do this in my head. Like, hold on,
Right.
let me do math. I got it. Like, I don't need a calculator. I got this. Yeah, like it's a part of my life, and I think it's going to be something that I'm forever going to be good at because of a skill that's forever going to be exercised because of the fact that I'm diabetic. So, I definitely appreciate diabetes for that.
Right. I truly appreciate diabetes for that also, because if it wasn't for diabetes, not only where would we be, but who would we be? Because diabetes gave us a sense of not only community, but self-awareness, being alert at certain things and situations. Like, it's almost like diabetes is like street smarts,
Absolutely.
but to the umpteenth power, because like, if a number flashes between your eye, like between your face, like you're like, okay, I get it, I understand it. Where other people would be like, huh? Why? why this? And you're like, I got it. Don't worry about it. And that's something we take on a heavy role of that. Question. Well, first, just let you know, I wrote a title on the top of this paper because when I have these recordings, I'm always thinking like, what am I going to title this? But I put elevator pitch
Okay.
because I don't know if that's going to stick, but right now, within like 10 minutes, you gave me a full elevator pitch. I'm hopping off this elevator, and if somebody comes up to me and is like, my child was recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I'm like, I got it all. I know, like, because I just hopped off the elevator with DeeDee. Like, seriously. And I can tell that diabetes is the true part of who you are, and
Yes.
you embrace it. I know many times, especially those teenage years when we get a little bit rebellious and whatnot. Diabetes does take maybe like a third or fourth seat instead of being second nature.
Yeah.
But today, you as a growing, maturing woman, you've taken that control forcefully. Like, give me my diabetes. I'm not going to let diabetes be the one that deteriorates or takes me away from my dreams, such as taking on and over the world, because that's what I see.
Thank you. Yes, I very much embrace my diabetes. And, again, like I said, I don't think I would be who I am today if it wasn't for that. Or if
Right.
diabetes didn't play a part into that.
Right. You were diagnosed so early, so young that it's like some certain questions. I'm like, how was it entering elementary school? But diabetes was in your backpack. Like, really?
I can definitely talk about elementary school though.
How was did you well first did you post your diagnosis and going back to, let's say, childcare, elementary school, all those things, did anyone ever pin you out as like, oh, she's the girl with diabetes, like, she's
Absolutely.
fragile?
Absolutely. And let me also just say, when I was younger, I was very chunky as well. Like, I got a little weight on me, but I lost a lot of weight. Like, I used to be more heavier when I was like younger, just because of the fact that I remember, like, I used to sit in nurse's office at some points, like, and she used to count how many carbs she would give me. And she used to be like, we're at 200 carbs and your blood sugar has been low for the last 2 hours. And I'm like, I can't, like, I'm struggling to eat food. And I'm like, I feel like I can throw up at any moment. Like, and I was just like, I hate doing this, But I remember, like, people even still to this day, because the elementary school that I went to when I was like younger, from like first to third grade, when I was going into high school, well, like in my like seventh, eighth grade, they announced that they were launching a high school, right? And they were like, okay, it was elementary school and middle school, but they were like, okay, we're launching a high school. And most of the people who I went to school with, because I did move around a lot as a kid, the people that I went to like first through third grade with, they were going to the high school, or I assumed they did, because most of them lived in a neighborhood. But at that time, I didn't live in a neighborhood anymore when I was like applying to high school. So I remember when I got to high school, a lot of the kids were like, aren't you Destiny? It was like, oh my God. They would always bring up memories. They used to be like, I remember like she stayed with snacks on her. And I'm like, yo, like, this is crazy. Like, that's the look like that people remember me for, like being a girl that always had snacks at her desk. And I remember, even outside of snack time, but I stayed and teachers had to defend me, being like, stop asking her for her snacks and all of that. Like, I was always that person that always had snacks. And that was the reputation I had. I remember, I used to sometimes not be allowed to go to recess if my blood sugar was low, because I can't have physical time, or I wasn't allowed to participate in gym, or there'd be times that I would need extensions on tests, or I would have to take it outside or something, or, students were going on certain places, but, I couldn't go, or there'd be times that I had to go places, but everybody else had to sit back because of the fact that I had diabetes. I would definitely say that there was a lot of times that, I wasn't allowed to be included in certain things when I was younger, but I think that also what plays a role into who I am today, because now I advocate for myself, and I'm like, okay, you don't need to tell me that I can't participate in the activity at all. You tell me I need to wait until my blood sugar goes up, or wait till it gets to a certain level, then I can, Whereas though I remember at one point when I was younger, I used to be completely exempt from not being able to be allowed to do certain things at all, And I'm like, okay, like, you're not telling me I can't have fun. You're telling me just not right now. Like, those are two different things, So I think that plays a role into like, you know, my advocacy and who I am today. And a lot of people also changed their perception of me as well in regards to the girl being always on snacks. I think that as I got older, I learned a lot about my body. And I think that was one thing that I really appreciated about having super like a great endocrinology team. Was just being able to, you know, my doctor's always pushing me to be able to learn or point out things about my body, like within itself, so I could learn, you know, they'd be like, okay, well, what do you recognize? What is a pattern you see here? Every time you do what is the outcome, you know? So now here I am, you know, I don't know, being 8, 9 years old, learning about my body and like not even recognizing. Now I'm older and now here I am at my adult endocrinologist and I can tell her and I'm like, okay, well, she's like, okay, we're sitting here having a conversation. She's like, okay, what do you think the outcome could be? And I'm like, okay, well, how about let's change my levels? Not my long acting insulin because I'm on shots right now, but let's change maybe my carb ratio because clearly there's some, you know, something going on in my body every time after I eat, then my blood sugar spike, you know? So here I am. But if I didn't have those skills and I didn't have those experiences when I was younger that made me recognize that, okay, my body has certain reactions to certain things and me being able to, you know, learn from those patterns or learn my body's reactions, then I don't think I'll be able to advocate for myself and for who I am today or be able to advocate for my health.
You've spoken a lot about advocating for yourself as a child. Like you said, growing up through the schooling system, even moving around a lot, every day was a day of advocacy for you. It was a day where you were able to show and share with other people and make sure that they knew who you truly were, who you truly are destined to be, destiny. Those teachers early on, even people, family members, close friends, they have a sense of fear that we don't even have.
Yeah.
They see something or they learn something, and the first thing people typically go with instead of that kindness, that love, that shared appreciation, they fear. They look for the fears, the negative. People always look for the negative things first.
Absolutely.
And like again, when I spoke to the young man Chase the other day, and it was almost like a heartfelt moment when he was talking about going out to recess, and he was like, I knew everything I had to do when I was in kindergarten, elementary school. And I would tell these teachers, like, I'm able to eat right now. I've gave myself the insulin to cover those carbs. And the complexity of that for those teachers were like, they didn't truly understand. Like this little man was able to explain those things to them. And he was like, if I'm able to explain these to you, then you should know that I can handle this. Like he was
Right.
like, once he went on a field trip and they had hoagies and the teacher would not let him eat the hoagie. She waited until they got back to school. So he went without lunch and called his mom. And he was like, I felt so outcast during some times and some moments because of their own fears. And I wanted to ask, have you had any of those like moments where like you can actually remember and recall and you can picture like vividly because it instilled in your memory, in your brain, in your heart first, where everyone else was doing it and you teachers like people telling you
Yes.
no.
Yes, there's been many times that I've had teachers literally like I would explain to them and like I what me as a kid, like, well, even still me to this day, but as a kid, like I was just like him, like Chase. I was very educated on my diabetes. You couldn't tell me nothing, you know, like I knew exactly what needs to be done. My blood sugar low, okay, I need sugar. My blood sugar's high, okay, I need insulin and I need water. Okay, I might need to sit out because my stomach might hurt, but you know, I know what needs to be done, you know? And I do remember there were a few times that I'm literally like, okay, like people are just giving me constant sugar back to back to back. And I'm like, how about let's wait the 15 minutes or wait 20 minutes and stop forcing me to eat? And they're like, no, but your blood sugar's low. And I'm like, okay, I understand that, but I also know my body as well. You're not about to keep telling me to do something or, you know, and even moments, you know, when I'm at school and people are telling me that I can't do things or I can't participate because of my diabetes. And now everybody's looking at me, asking me why I'm on the sideline. And I can't explain because I've explained to the person who's in charge already that I am able to participate. But because, like you said, because of the fear, now you're not allowing me to participate because you're scared of my diabetes. And I think that also comes from a lot of like miseducation about diabetes and things like that, which is why I'm so big on advocacy. And I always tell people all the time that diabetes is not the same for everybody. Me and you are diabetic, but your diabetes is not the same as mine, you know? So I always tell people that all the time. And I'm like, you have to be able to allow people to advocate for themselves. Also, another thing, additionally, also, is that I also spoke on my celiac. I didn't get diagnosed with celiac until I went into my freshman year of college. So I would say, even though, you know, I had my
You had the funky stomach forever.
And not even just that, I didn't learn that I had that until I kept experiencing a lot of insulin resistance with my body. And when I eat gluten, it actually makes me insulin resistant. And so that's the part that I always explain to people. I'm like, I'm taking insulin. As I mentioned, there was times that I was taking insulin and my insulin wouldn't kick in for another 24, 36 hours. And I'm like, why is everything kicking in now? I've been running to the bathroom every 5 seconds for the last 36 hours because my blood sugar is high and I've done everything I needed to do. But, you know, we came to the conclusion that literally like I am allergic to gluten and my body literally reacts and it makes me insulin resistant. And so there's been times that, you know, I first of all, I love fried chicken. I'm not gonna lie. I love fried chicken. Like I love a lot of my foods that I was eating before I got diagnosed with celiac were gluten containing foods. And I remember me just going through the process of me trying to figure out, which even still to this day, like I would say with my recent hospitalization, me coming home from school and stuff like that, I had to push myself a little bit more and be like, okay, girl, like there's no like sneaking and being like, oh my God, like I can have like this like one time, like, or oh my God, like I really want lasagna, like, oh my God, like I'll be okay, like whatever. I'll just take the insulin or I'll just stay up and I'll sacrifice it. Like there's none of that. And there's been times that, you know, even just since me being home that, you know, my friends invite me out or my brother's like, okay, let's go to dinner. And like, I'm at the table and I'm looking at the menu and the only thing that's on the menu is salad that's gluten free. And I'm like, I want food. I want food. And they're like, well, let's find another restaurant. DeeDee can't eat here. And I remember this was this literally happened like literally less than a month ago. They were like, oh, we're all at an Italian restaurant, you know, Maggiano's. We're literally sitting at Maggiano's and literally like, we were sitting there and everybody's ordering. And I'm like, okay. I was like, okay, I would like the gluten-free pasta because it says at the bottom in like fine print, it was like request, like let us know if you have any allergies to gluten and we have gluten-free pasta. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm gonna need gluten-free pasta. And they were like, oh, we're all out. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was just ready to accept that, okay, everybody else can eat. I'll just sit here. I'm okay. I'm not. Whatever it is, you guys will eat, whatever. And mind, it was my brother's birthday. So I'm like, I don't want to ruin anybody's birthday. My brother's like, nope, DeeDee can't eat here. We all go. Let's find somewhere else. And I'm just like, everybody looking like everybody was ready to eat. I just felt like so outcasted. And I'm like, dang, like nobody was able to eat because I couldn't eat. And like, that was a moment that I just was like, really like, I was very irritated. Me and my brother, we got into a major argument because I was like, why would you make everybody else get up at the table, a table of like 10 people, because me can't eat? I'm like, I could have sacrificed for everyone else. But I think his principle was just more like, no, it's disrespectful, you know? But I'm just like, I don't know. I was just so used to being the outcast. And I'm like, okay, when it comes to my health, nobody else should be sacrificed, you know, or no one else should, you know.
Did you say no one else should be sacrificed?
I'm sorry. Or no one else should be.
Should have to sacrifice their own.
Yeah, should have to sacrifice because of it. Like,
I was like, well, they probably would be gluten free. I understand that, but I also understand the sentiment of your brother because he's like, nah, basically, F this. Like, let's move on. It's just an obstacle in life. And that's something that you've learned throughout your years. Like there's obstacles in life that people deter or make you detour, but you know how to navigate through these things.
Right.
Your brother was just taking it upon himself. Like, this is my day, my time. I need my sister to be equally at her best. But you were like, don't point me out because that's what everybody did when I was younger. It's instilled in here, like, no, let's go, let's move forward.
And it made me so mad too because like after they were like, okay, let's find a place where there's gluten-free food. And everybody's on their phone looking up gluten-free restaurants. And then like, they're like cheesesteaks. And I'm like, no, there's bread. There's gluten in cheesesteaks. And they just keep naming all these places. And I'm like, I cannot eat that. Like, unless they have it made gluten-free, which I need to make sure, because that's also another thing. I don't know if you recently saw like the news about like a content creator who actually passed because she shared that she had a peanut allergy, and restaurants were telling her, she went to a content creator event and they told her that there were no peanuts, or nothing was made with peanut oil, and it actually was. And she literally had a major like allergic reaction, and she actually wound up passing away. And so like my fear when it comes to restaurants is that people, like, I don't know what's happening in the kitchen. And I also know that I can't just walk into the kitchen and watch you make the food. So my thing is like, you're telling me, oh, this place, okay, like they're saying like it's gluten-free and whatsoever, but I'm like, how can I certify like that it's actually gluten-free? Because you're not putting my health on the line, So that's why I was just saying like, okay, don't stop your fun. This is about you. Don't make the attention about me. But he wanted, his focus was other way.
Right. Look, I remember being young. I think I was like 19, and I was working at a nursing facility. And I remember people in the dietary aid positions, they would be like, certain person couldn't have sugar or whatever. So they would be like, okay, let's just give them this coffee that doesn't have sugar in it, but they would put some kind of alternative in it. And I'm like, do you know if they can have that? Maybe it's just the sucralose that they can't have or whatever. And they're like, well, it's diet. And I'm like, how can you do
There's
that?
so much more to it. Like,
yeah,
that's
so
crazy. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was like, there's so much more to it that people don't understand. Like, someone will be like, well, I put this seasoning on your food or whatever. It's good. And they don't understand that there are more seasonings that have gluten in them than not.
Right.
And they're like, why would there be gluten in a seasoning? I don't know. Ask the manufacturer that question.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ask the processing plant. Like, why are they doing this?
Right. Yeah, I would say me, since being diagnosed with celiac, like I have like, it has made me more aware of things. Like, and I think that I feel like I'm on like a second phase of learning about my diabetes. Again, like we just mentioned earlier, on the call, is that, we were learning about our diabetes, learning, being excluded. We had our different experiences. I'm definitely going through my phase where I'm having my experience with celiac, and I feel like I'm being diagnosed with diabetes all over again. Here I am relearning my body. Here I am relearning how to eat foods, or, what I can eat or what I can't eat, and learning what was in my foods, and even the small little things, like you said, seasonings have it. Okay. They're like, literally yesterday I wanted tomato soup and grilled cheese. I literally went out to go get, I went out to go get more gluten-free bread, and I was like, okay, I'm about to eat some tomato soup and grilled cheese. I literally look at the can of tomato soup and it says wheat ingredients. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding. Like, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, it's things that you wouldn't even think, but it's like, you cannot be inconsiderate of, people's health, because it's the small things, like you said, that you would not think that would still have it. So you have to be mindful. And at the end of the day, when we're talking about people's health, that's not a game that I like to play. I don't like to play those types of games, and I don't like people to play games with me either, or other people's health as well. That's why I don't really be trusting people.
Well, I understand. Just getting to know you over the last half an hour or so, you are a fireball, and I know you've heard this before. Don't take offense to this. It's great, like, because I know that you can like bring life and light and energy into any situation, and that's because that's a part of that is because early on you were forced to do that.
Yes.
Who else can I be other than be Destiny? Like, right? Like you're truly Destiny's Child. Like you
They
raised
called that so much when I was younger. I used to be like Destiny's Child. I used to be like, and what made it even worse is that like when I was younger, like I actually wanted to pursue like a career in the music industry. I don't know if you saw this. Like, I don't know if you did. You do any research on my social media before this?
I did not. I
You
don't.
did not. I actually like I gained a lot of my followers like from two reasons. One, because I used to sing when I was younger and I used to pay like I used to get like paid to perform and all of that. Like I was like really big in like entertainment and stuff. And so like that was where I got a lot of attention from for me posting singing videos and things like that. And then I got a lot of attention before going to college because I had got accepted into 56 colleges. And so that was where I got like a lot of like news and media attention and things like that. But those were like a lot of two major things. So when I used to get called Destiny's Child, it made it even worse because I knew how to sing, and Beyonce used to be my favorite singer when I was younger. That has changed as I got older, but Beyonce, I used to be obsessed.
Man, I still love B. I don't care what.
I love these, but there's a lot of other
I
artists
know.
that
I
I'm not
got
as
you.
obsessed.
I got you. I mean, it's almost like people who grew up with like Michael Jackson. After a while, you were like new people, new acts came along. Like
Yes.
there was the Ushers and the Chris Browns and so
Yes,
forth. Like, okay, there was an evolution, but we know where it started,
absolutely.
right? Beyonce is where it started with a lot of things that are currently in rotation.
Yes.
Um, but you spoke it highly about yourself, everything you've been able to do with diabetes, with celiac, and you just dropped a bomb in there saying like I was accepted to 56 colleges. Did I hear your story? This is a wholeheartedly organic conversation. I did not know that you were accepted to 56 colleges. I have an episode being released today by a young lady named Nyasha. And it's funny because while I was recording with her, I was going back and editing yesterday. While I was going back and recording with her, she like did this like drop where she was like, "Yeah." And when I was at Yale and kept on going, and I said, "Nyasha, I'm not going to allow you to just drop that bomb right there." And she was like, "What?" I said, "You're a Yale graduate," and she was like, "Oh yeah, I went to Yale." Like,
Her.
right.
We love educated Black women also who have to deal with diabetes. That is two full-blown jobs. Being a college student and sitting here like having diabetes, that is a lot. But yeah, I had 56 college acceptances. That was a whole like phase of my life within itself.
And I'm going to make sure that I insert some links in regard to that. So make sure you do send me
I got you.
your links.
They're all on my resume. I'll just send it over.
Okay, got you. Look, you're even applying for a job when you're not applying for a job.
Yes, I need to let them know.
That's how it should be.
I've been featured in Good Morning America. I've done this. I'm like, oh yeah, you need to see, okay?
Right. That's how it should be. Like, you shouldn't have to go seek the employment and these companies, even Fortune 500 companies and things, because like they see you.
Yes.
There has to be someone out there who recognized you and was like, we got to get her on the team.
Absolutely. I always tell people, I'm like, my name is a quick Google search. It's not that hard. Like I'm trying to tell you, all you got to do is look at my name. It'll pop up.
I've been saying that for the last like 15 plus years to people, like Google me.
like seriously, like, and that, like, I remember like when I was younger, I used to tell people, do you know who I am? Like, you better ask about me. But now I'm like, you can Google me. You don't even got to ask. Use your phone. Okay. Like, listen, the world knows. Don't.
Right. I'm a creator just by being me.
Yes.
I do want to tap into some things. You said you were forced out of school more recently. I did come across that, and I think we had a small conversation about that off air. Could you explain why you were forced out of school?
Yes. So, okay. So I'm sorry. When I said I was forced out of school, I didn't mean when I was like younger. Like they actually,
I know.
But I guess I could say I had a similar experience like recently. I'm not really going to say forced, but practically I didn't have a decision. So I guess we can say forced. But I did. I was in the hospital in the beginning of November. I had got diagnosed with DKA. It was really like crazy. Like My body did become insulin resistant. I am not sure why. My body, there are a bunch of reasons why, because I have been experiencing since being in college, different reasons for insulin resistance. Sometimes it was because of the gluten. I also have PCOS. So sometimes, my body just doesn't absorb my insulin. And, like it makes it hard because we don't necessarily always know what is the cause of it, again, I've been very big on just being aware of the things that I eat and I put into my body and things like that. But it was literally like one night before, it was like a regular school night. I think it was like a Sunday, and I was getting ready. I only had classes this semester on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I always use my Monday, Wednesday, Friday to create content, do my homework and different things like that. But that Monday, midterms were approaching, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to all my teacher's office hours. So I had stayed up, I had did some of my homework, and I was like, okay, I'm hungry, I'm about to eat, and then I'm about to go to sleep. Cause I was also struggling with a cold after homecoming. I go to Spelman. So that homecoming within itself speaks for itself. HBC homecoming. I'm with Clark Atlanta Morehouse. Like it's huge, and I had got a cold, which I never usually get sick after I never usually get sick. Like I don't usually have colds. Like I don't recall the last time I've had a cold. Like, but I know that whenever I do get sick, my body is a whole different thing, So when I had got sick, it was it was a little different. I'm constantly like my nose is running and different things like that. But I had a major headache. So I kept going to sleep, waking up that Sunday whatsoever. I woke up at one point around like midnight and I was like, okay, I slept all day. Like I'm not tired, but I'm hungry. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to make some buffalo chicken dip. I'm not hungry, like starving, but I'm like, I need something to eat because I haven't ate all day and I've just been taking my insulin and covering for blood sugars, but not eating carbs, So I took it, went to sleep, woke up the next day and I had to use the bathroom, but I couldn't get up out of my bed. Like I was stuck. I thought like, okay, maybe I'm just tired and my body just feels like sick because of the fact that I have a cold. And I know sometimes like, throughout me having my cold, I know I was experiencing body pains and things like that. I'm like, maybe, that's why like I can't get out of my bed because of my cold just has my body super tired right now. And I can't get up. But I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to sleep. You ever like wake up and you like, all right, 5 more minutes. Like, let me get 5 more minutes of sleep. I'm like, all right. Yes. I'm like, I'm gonna give myself 5 more minutes. Maybe that's what I need, this recharge. Maybe, this will change my feeling or my life, whatever. I get up. I cannot move. Like I can't move. And I'm like, I gotta pee right now. Like I gotta go to the bathroom. I don't feel good right now. I'm like, this is crazy. So I can't get up. It gets to the point where I like urinate in my bed. And I'm like, what the freak? Like, I'm like, this is embarrassing. Like, as a college student, you're like, I'm an adult. Like, when I was younger, I had my times where I definitely did have, bedtime urination problems, which came from like, lack of blood sugar control. My blood sugars would be going up and down. And then, there would be times where, I'll be sleeping, it would happen. But I'm like, I'm an adult. Like I know my body, like I can feel like when something's about to happen. So I'm like, what is going on? So I'm like, oh my God, it gets to the point where like, I'm like, okay, I need my phone, but I can't move. I can't grab my phone, nothing. So it gets to the point, hold on, I'm about to turn this over. I had to say, hey, Siri, to call my mom. I'm like, I need to call I'm sorry, no. Before that, I was screaming because I have a roommate. My mom was like, when I got my first apartment and all that, she was like, I'm sorry, this is my second apartment. My mom was like, whenever I moved into an apartment, she was like, I can't live by myself. She was like, because if something happens to you, you're out of state, we in Philly, you in Atlanta, something happens, who's going to save you and who's going to know, Like, thank God I was in a position where I was actually capable to say, hey, Siri, to, be able to call my mom. But what if it was a situation where I didn't get up all day, Who would have been it? Like, who would have known? Like, and so, I screamed for my roommate. My roommate wasn't there. So, I was like, okay, I got to call my mom. So I called my mom and I was like, okay, the next step is like, clearly I'm going to need, like ambulance or somebody's gonna have to come in. My only issue was, how do they get in here? Because the apartment that I live in, like I've always lived in gated communities. Like when I got my apartments in school and stuff. And so I was like, okay, they can't get in here without anybody getting in. Good thing my mom already had my roommate's number. So my mom called my roommate, tell my roommate they need to leave class now. They came back, let the ambulance in. The ambulance got there. Their meters were reading, like it was reading high. Like they couldn't even read it. And so they were saying that my heart rate was almost 200. Like it was really high. And they had to get me dressed. Like they had to change my clothes, put me on new clothes. Like it was really, really bad. I got there. My blood pressure was, my blood pressure was low. My heart rate was like super high. And they were like, you're in DKA. And my blood sugar was almost 800. really bad. I couldn't, like, my heart rate, like, first of all, I felt like it was crazy. Like, people always like tell me like not to say this, and it was like never speak that on yourself. But I felt like I was going to, and like literally in my bed, I literally thought it was the end. I was like this, like I and everybody always asks me like, what happened? Like, how did it happen? I'm like, one night I was fine. Next night, well, I was like fine. I had a cold, but I wasn't like, like halfway off the earth. Then the next day I can't move, and like I feel like I'm at the end, So I'm like, I don't know. And it was crazy. And even as time was going on, I was in the hospital. They had me on fluids. It got to the point where I went into a coma, and I was in the ICU for a week and a half. And then everybody's asking me, like, what happened? Oh, I'm sorry. My doctors are more just like, what happened? The nurses and stuff are coming in. They're giving me insulin and stuff. And they're like, we're giving you insulin. Your blood sugar is not coming down. Like, it's not coming down. At one, like when I was in the hospital, well, of course, and when I was in my coma, I couldn't eat. But when I got out for the first 2.5 days that I got out of my coma, I wasn't able to eat food. I was strictly on fluids. Like, they weren't allowing me to eat or anything. It was like, if you're hungry, we'll give you ice cubes. And I was like, dang, like, I can't even eat food right now. And it's like, we'll put you on electrolytes and all of that type of stuff. But like, I wasn't able to eat because they couldn't figure out why my blood sugars were going down. So, when I finally got out the hospital, they were like, okay, you need to go home to see your doctor. I'm thinking, okay, I'll schedule an appointment. I'll go home and see my doctor. I'll fly home for like a day or two, then come back to school and talk to my teachers and figure out what I need to make up. They said, okay, you have to ask your dean. I went to the dean, and the dean was like, are you crazy? She was like, you need to go home and figure out what's going on with you. You're not making up no schoolwork. She was like, you need to do a medical withdrawal. And I was like, a medical withdrawal? I was like, okay, well, does that approve me? Like, how long do I have to stay home before I come back? And she was like, oh no. She was like, you can come back next school year. And I was like, next semester or next school year? She was like, next August. She was like, you need to figure out what's going on with your health and why this is happening to avoid future times of this happening in the future. Like, she was like, you don't want to not know what's going on, and then it happens again, and here you are at this time next year or this time next semester, and here you are in the same situation needing to go home, or here you are in a coma again. She was like, that's very dangerous. And I was heated because I thought I was going to get out, go back to school, hurry up. Like, I don't know. I was prepared for me to have to make up a bunch of work, And I was like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I got to do. Even if it means over Thanksgiving break, I'm not eating or I'm not sitting at the table because I need to make up my schoolwork, But they were just like, no, like, you don't have to worry about anything. You need to worry about your health. And I'm just like, I was pissed. Like, I was pissed. That wasn't a reaction. I'm sorry. That was not the reaction that I was expecting from any of my teachers or my deans. But I think I appreciate it now because I'm like, okay, there are things that I'm learning about myself, and, I did need this break. So, I did, I'm back into therapy and stuff like that. And, I remember at one point, like, I didn't recognize how much, diabetes also impacts your mental health as well, So I think for me, like, I'm just able to like learn about my mental health and learning that when you're stressed out, that actually your body releases chemicals into your body that could also make you as well. And I never knew that. And like, I just learned that from me, speaking to my therapist, and I'm like, oh, like, and so my doctor was like, okay, maybe that was also a reason that played into you going to the hospital. You in school, midterms approaching, you probably stressed out from school and everything. And maybe with a bunch of other factors of things happening to your life, she's like, you probably like that. Maybe that was the reason. And so I just, even though it wasn't what I wanted to hear in the moment, I think I do appreciate this break. And I'm just like, okay, like, I always, I'm a firm believer of God. And, I always say that, everything happens in your life for a reason. And sometimes God places people in your life for a season. So, I appreciate his reason and seasons for this.
Right. It was all destined to be. You're making me change the title. But I must insert this. Many people don't know what DKA is, diabetic ketoacidosis. It occurs from there's two main parts to that. Either a lack of insulin, which your body did not have a lack of insulin, it was continuously being dumped in, or insulin resistance. And with that insulin resistance, it builds up ketones. Ketones in the body, in the bloodstream, makes your blood become acidic. And with that, you go into DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. And Destiny, you're like making chapters to this story, because my next thing I wanted to talk about was family history. But before I even get there, I know. Look, But before I even get there, when you were speaking of your story of being in DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis again, so January 19th, 1954, my great grandmother, who I never met, passed from diabetic ketoacidosis.
Wow.
And I found this out through ancestry.com. So,
Wow.
yes, and this was just maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, like during the heart of the pandemic. Yeah, like 3 years ago. And I'm reading her death certificate because no one ever told me like what she passed from. They were like, she became very like frail, thin, and sick, and she complained about stomach issues. She could using the bathroom nonstop. A nurse came and tended to her, and she lived in a rural area in PA, outside of Lancaster, a place called Peach Bottom.
Okay.
And they said she was in a hospital for 2 weeks and in a coma. So she passed February 2nd, 1954. So her diagnosis and death are together. So that's the
Wow.
first person in my family tree, my family history, known to be diabetic. And they said she was
Wow.
more than likely type 1 diabetic. And now it's myself. I have a first cousin who's also. So yes, there are chapters. There's layers to this. And you just like brought it right into what I wanted to speak about next, family history. Do you know if you have any family history? Let me stop. Let me be real with it. Destiny, I know you have family history of type 1 diabetes. And if one thing I got to let you know about me, I'm the realest MF you ever gonna find, and I'm serious. Like I'm 100%, 100%.
Same.
Like for real, you never going to get any tomfoolery from me. I'm never going to dance and all that. I'm going to do what I need to do for me.
Right.
Me first. And part of your healing journey is finding your family, finding out your history, all of those things. So I'm going to speak to the public right now. When y'all tap in and listen to this episode, just know Destiny is being her authentic self. There are things that she has inside of her that's innate. They're innate. They're natural. They're natural. When you feel a certain way, you're supposed to find a way of nurturing through that, whether it's emotional or physical. You spoke about trauma. I work in mental health. I've been a mental health and art therapist for many years. And we know that both physical and mental trauma, you have to work hand in hand with them. There's no 30, 70, 60, 40. It's 50, 50. You can't have one without the other. And in this space, I'm going to let everyone know that Destiny is on a healing journey. She mentioned that in her first 60 seconds of being on this recording, that she's in her healing journey. And you're going to let this baby heal today. You're going to let her heal today. She's going to speak her truths, be unapologetically, authentically herself. There's nothing more and there's nothing less. So Destiny, I follow you on Instagram. And you know, when you drop something, I'm there to support because your truths truly matter. Destiny, do you have any family history of type 1 diabetes?
So for years, I thought that I did not. And as we're talking about journeys, I only knew one side of my family. Also, another fact about me is that I did grow up in the foster care system. So for a long period of time, I only knew my mom's side of the family. But I knew that I always thought to myself growing up, I was like, okay, why does everybody else have asthma? And, of course, when some people get older, they got like breast cancer and things like that. But like, why did I get stuck with diabetes? And not just diabetes, I got it at young, So I'm like, why does nobody else have it? And of course, type 1 diabetes is a genetic disorder. So I'm like, okay, like if it's genetic, why I'm the only one who got it and nobody else got it? Fast forward again, I did not know my father's side of family. I was always looking for like for the past 10, 12 years, I've been looking for my dad's side of the family. I just recently got connected and started getting connected. And through, my research, I found out that my father actually has type 1 diabetes. And there's a lot of people on his side that also have it. His cousin has it. His uncle has it, and the mom has type 2 diabetes, but they all have type 1. So that is what I know. I don't know much about him because we have not connected. I've only had the opportunity to speak with his mother, which would be my grandmother. But yes, they have diabetes. And so that was, along with me finding my father, I'm also finding out missing parts of myself as well. And, answering questions about things that I've questioned my whole life.
Filling in the gaps.
Yes.
That's all she's doing. That's how we grow. That's how we mature. That's how we become who we should be in life. You spoke highly about accepting diabetes. You've accepted your life, but you don't have to accept a path or journey because that path or journey belongs to you.
Right.
You're going to make that happen. And when you share things via Instagram, all I see is strength. There may be people in the background sending you text messages like, don't do that. Not that way. It's your way.
I get it all the time.
It's your way.
People text me all the time saying, don't post that. Why would you post that? Or why would you say that? And I'm like you said, this is me. Like that's one thing about me is that like when I get on social media, I don't pump fake anything. I'm not about to make my life seem like something it's not, which I know is a very trendy thing that goes on now. But I'm going to be authentically me. And that means the things that I say out of my mouth, I'm going to be real. The things that I say, my experiences, I'm not sugarcoating anything for anybody. And I'm like, hey, cancel me. If you're going to cancel me for being a realist. Okay. Because I'm never going to lie, And so a lot of people, I get text messages all the time. People texting my phone, people texting me on Instagram, DMing me or telling other people. And, I don't usually get people that comment because they know I clap back on my social media. So they know not to try me. But, I don't care. This is my social media. You don't like what I do, don't follow me. And that'd be the thing. The most people that criticize be the ones that will watch your every move. And it's like, if you don't like what I do, why are you watching me? Why are you following me? Please block me. You have every right to do so. And I promise you, I won't be offended. Okay. This is not the community that I want to build that thinks that we're about to sugarcoat anything. The community that I am building is the people that's going to be real, authentically themselves, and the people that are going to be super strong. I'm not around here for pump faking nothing, period.
And they don't understand that because from day one, or as far back as you can remember, you haven't had to pump fake anything. Like literally, you were a child, a toddler, and probably even happened in your infancy stages where you develop type 1 diabetes, hearing your history. You've never had to pump fake anything. Again, you've had to take on this sole responsibility. I mean, you have your parents, family, friends, all of that community, but no one had to learn this the way you learned it. Between you and your mom, for someone have to take on the blunt of this responsibility at such a young age, it also helps you in providing that inner working, that inner source of the things and challenges you can overtake and overcome. And right now, today, Destiny, like I told you early on, you're taking on and over the world, and nothing or no one should insert their ways to prevent you from doing that. Because, I know the communities that we come from, where a lot of things get blanketed over. But how can we heal? How can we be the best version of self for us for now? And you mentioned again earlier on about having children in the future. Like, how can you be your best version without going through all these stages, learning, growing? Because, you were accepted to 56 colleges and institutions. Life is a forever journey in education. It never ends. And
Absolutely.
that's just not between the lines of a book.
That is
That's
so true.
Destiny. Before we go, is there anything that we did not cover that you want to make sure we insert here?
I think we covered some major points. I think that if we were to cover more, I think we would need another episode. So I think we did good. And I'm sure I'll be back. I'm sure. But yeah, I'll definitely update you more. You guys can stay tuned with, just the journey of, on my social media, on my Instagram at I am DeeDee.__, and you guys can like watch my journey of me like finding my dad and different things, and maybe revealing some more things about my health that I didn't know as well. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll be back and I'll definitely update y'all. And yeah.
Right. And you want to update me over brunch, lunch, whatever. We're going to meet up seriously soon. All right?
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen. Bring the pad and the pen and take down notes, like how we going to take on and over this world, because that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Let's do
Like,
it.
and nobody's going to stop me. I mean,
Yup.
living with type 1 diabetes, living with celiac disease, even our family history and all of those things that have altered and changed us, like it's all life altering. And
Absolutely.
there's so many things that are misunderstood, specifically about living with type 1 diabetes, socially, emotionally, like different things affect us psychologically, relationships, all of those things. But one thing I could say with you, Destiny, you have confidence. You truly have confidence. And then for you, is there any advice you want to give to anyone that's newly diagnosed, or someone that's starting over, like you said, like you started over?
Pay attention to your body. That's the best advice I could give. Pay attention to your body. My endocrinologist told me at a very young age, I'm a doctor. I went to school, but no one knows your body better than you. And there will be times that you may come across, other health advisors or people who may got their degree in health or whatever your diagnoses are, but no one knows your body better than you. So I would say pay attention and learn about you as long as you can. And that's forever going to be a life thing. Like we said, life is life, we're in the school of life, and like we're forever learning, but you need to forever be paying attention to you. And that needs to be your biggest priority.
True indeed. Last question I'll leave everyone here with, Destiny. You were diagnosed 20 years ago. So I must ask you this. You lived the entirety of your life with diabetes. You may have had dreams like you didn't have diabetes, but really, like, you really don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like an intrusive thought, like me without diabetes.
Yeah.
But with the advent of technology moving forward, faster acting insulins and things of that nature, there's been functional cures where people have gone 4 to 5 years and continuing without needing man-made insulin. And there's so many clinical trials going on with that, and it's all showing like positive growth. So, Destiny, one day we're gonna keep this relationship going. One day, Destiny, I'm gonna hit you up and I'm gonna say, Destiny, a cure is here. All of our time now will be maximized. And when we say time and living with diabetes, people don't understand that it will truly be maximized. We don't got to call insurance. We don't got to stop at the pharmacy ever so often, get prior authorizations. The time it takes for blood sugars to go up, to go down, the insulin usage, the pens, the needles, the pumps, all of those things. More than 180 steps added on to us per day. On that day, Destiny, that a true cure is here, functional cure, and it's available for all of us, and we all are taking it, because you know how the government is. They're like, it's either going to be there or it's not. There's
Right.
no in between. Like, on that day, Destiny, you find out you've been cured. What do you do?
Calling my mom. I'm calling my mom and I'm gonna be like, is this real? Calling my mom, and she probably gonna put me on, give me on the phone with my endocrinologist to make sure that this is safe and this is real. Cause she like I, because of the fact that I've leaned on insulin and stuff for like so long, all my life, like I think that would be like a major shocker to us. And it would be like, all right, like, are we testing the waters right now? Like what this look like? Like we need to know what's going on, to make sure this is actually safe, because what we don't want to do is not take insulin. And then here we are back in the hospital, So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna call my mom and be like, Mom, you heard about this? What's going on? You trust it? Because of the fact that I've lived with it for so long, I think that like I wouldn't be able to imagine a life without diabetes. So I would need to make sure like this is actually real. So I would probably be like in shock mode for a little minute. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be in shock mode for a minute, but after that minute passes, we're taking trips. We're having bonfires. Like my guy Chase told me, he said we're gonna have a bonfire and throw it all in there. He said I might keep a pump. He said I'll keep it around and I told him, I said, what, like for nostalgia, like a Tamagotchi, what are the Gigapet things and all of those things, like a pager. And
yeah, I think I would keep all of my stuff though. I might have to frame it in a wall. It might be worth something in the future, Well, because it's worth something now. So imagine when diabetes is like gone, or like doesn't exist. Like I think like that stuff would be worth like a lot,
Right.
Yeah, I'm keeping my stuff.
Right. And again, on that day, if you're here, I'm contacting you. We're going to enjoy life as it should be, even though this is our current life. But we know that in every stage and aspect in life, we can progress. It's our journey. It's our path for us to write. Destiny, my sister, I enjoyed your elevator pitch. DeeDee can't eat here, I wrote at the top. But this is your healing journey, because this is truly, and you spoke about it often, there was a miseducation of DeeDee.
Yes.
There was a miseducation of you. And I think I'm going to leave that for the title, because, sister, we still going to salute those 56 acceptances.
Yes.
And like you said, it's a life of education. Thank you for joining me on the Chronically Will podcast, where we have real conversations with community that needs to be heard. Because Destiny, you're truly someone that needs to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you.